Hello everyone and welcome to week 1 of Christmas Tag Tuesday. Now, as I'm recording this, I know that it is already past the middle of November, and usually I start off my Christmas Tag Tuesdays weekly on a Tuesday in the Southern Hemisphere, the first week of November. And if you watched my most recent video, I explained that there were a few things going on with family, and also I had a trip, sale of my parents' house, but I also had computer problems. So I was basically nursing it all through the 31 days of Christmas card event with the creative design team, and it was taking me much longer to edit and get things uploaded. But hopefully all those problems have been fixed now. I've been on my trip and I'm back on track just in time for the madness of December to start. So what I thought I would do for my first week of Tag Tuesday is keep it fairly simple and get a whole heap of tags done using the Memories and More card pack. These are Stampin' Up's pocket cards. They call them Memories and More. They're 6x4 and 3x4 inches, and they are designed for scrapbooking and sliding straight into page protectors with pockets in them to make it easy to scrapbook. Perfect for December daily type albums, but I thought I might make some tags out of them. Now, if you purchase this pack, you actually get 54 double-sided cards and 4 sticker sheets. So you can see here, I've got some laid out. They are double-sided. I'm just going to quickly flip them over and show you the back sides of them. Usually they're either a solid print like this or a complete print, or the other side might have some journaling spots for pocket scrapbooking. With the 6x4 ones, you get 18 cards. So 3 different designs, you get 6 of each. So I'll turn these over as well. You can see this would make a perfect pocket card to slide into a page protector, and you have the design on one side and room to do your journaling on the other, so you don't need to back it at all. Same with this one, and this one here has a gorgeous stripe design. But I'm going to cut some of these up. Now, this, what you're seeing in front of you here, is not a complete pack. I'm giving gifts of some of these cards to people attending a retreat, and I have some leftovers, so that's why I thought I would use some up on making tags. Now, the sticker sheets, you get 2 of each. I've only got 1 of each left from this partial pack here, and they're absolutely adorable, and they will work really well on these cards as well. Now, if you wanted to make it very simple and very quick, all you would need to do basically with one of the cards is punch a hole here and tie some twine or some ribbon, and then you've got an area here to write your to and from and a little Merry Christmas message. And this would make a very cute tag just on its own. Winter Blessings is not something that we would use in Australia for a Christmas card, so I do have to alter this. But if you live in a climate where it is winter for Christmas, this would make a cute as tag to put on a gift, and super simple and done. You can do the same with this one. You could punch a hole in this edge here and then write on the back. So you can use all of these really quickly to create tags, but I'm going to dress them up a little bit, and that's what I'm going to show you today. And I'm going to use this set here, the Greetings of the Season dies, to cut some large tags and some smaller ones. You can see from here that I've gone away and I've cut some of the cards up. Some of them I've fussy cut pieces out. Some of them I've done strips on for the leftovers. You can see I've got a little tray here of pieces that I've cut out. And the tags I have made with the thick basic white A4 cardstock. Normally when I've done Christmas tags in the past, I've doubled up 2 sheets of cardstock. But this thick basic white one, I don't think I need to do that with these because they are very, very sturdy. So that saves on die cutting double the amount of tags that I need. I want to do some treatments to some of these tags, but I wanted to show you the process to start with that I've gone through. And what I've got here are some tags already laid out. Now, these 2 here I'm leaving pretty much as is. I've used a corner around it to soften the edges, and I'm going to punch a hole in the top and attach string to. I didn't want to fussy cut out these tiny little reindeers. They're cute just the way they are coming across here. And I really like the sentiment that's on this one. And this one here at the back, I'm going to cut a smaller piece to go on the back of that, but this one I don't need to because it's got my space there to write. So those 2 are the quickest and the easiest out of all of these. I haven't actually decided on placement for this one yet, so I'm just wondering if I will have them coming across a tag with 3 of them there. It's a little bit busy with that size. Maybe this size tag. I just want to keep using that one die set for this. So maybe I can group these together. It's still not quite working. And if you remember on the original card, they come across like this and you could use that directly as a pocket piece. But I want to try and make some tags with these. What I might end up doing is turning this on its side and just making 3 exactly like this. And I think it's going to work because I am going to do some treatments to these. But this is how I go through the process of working out what goes where. I have a little play, cutting some things out. If you don't like fussy cutting, you don't have to. You can just leave your cards like this so that you can just punch a hole in them. And this is going to be where I get a little bit creative with these trees, but I am going to do some treatment to these and then I'm going to make a decision. This one here comes from this Very Merry one. On the back are these gorgeous stripes. So I've just fussy cut out the row of trees here, and you saw I brought them in before. I cut strips that are around 1/4 inch just out of the piece that was left. So I'm just going to put this over the back. So after I'd fussy cut that out, I just cut strips and kept going until I got in between the trees down here. So a couple of them are going to be fairly short, but I just kept going until I couldn't cut anymore. This one here is cut from this card, and I need to add things to that. Which ones haven't I shown you? Okay, these 2 here are from this card. So I've cut out the reindeers. I cut in and then just loosely cut around, and then I fussy cut the image out. And what's left over at the back are some of the gifts. Now, some of them have been cut into a little bit too much, but I was able to cut some out. So I'm going to put some gifts along in a row along this tag here. I've kept a couple for this reindeer, and then this little grouping of gifts I'm going to tuck around the tree. Now this one you can see that it's been chomped into a little bit because his foot's down a little bit too far, but that's okay. I can hide that by tucking it in behind the tree and then layering up the other gifts. So from the greetings of the season dies, I've used the 3 largest tags. So this one, and that one. I don't know if I'm going to use the smaller ones. I'm going to move this away, bring in my glass mat and do some treatments to the tags themselves just to bring them to life a little bit more. The next step I'm going to do with the tags is give them a bit of a background with some blended inks, and they're all going to have this same colorway. I am using Garden Green and what is this one called? I can't remember it. Something Limeade. No, Granny Apple Green. I think Limeade is a comparable Close to My Heart ink if you have that. And I'm just doing some quick blending and some other treatments to it. You can see I've got everything laid out here so I know the orientation that I'm going. So I want the darker green at the bottom and the lighter at the top, and then I'm going to give them several other treatments. And what I suggest if you're going to do something like this is to set up a bit of a production line, so that you can do them all in one go. You can see I've had a bit of an experiment. I'm going to bring in some splatters here. Now, depending on how hard you press and how much ink you load up will depend on how much green you get on here. So this one is fairly saturated, but remember that the ink will dry back to a lighter colour. So if you think you've got it dark enough, then I would probably stop there. Now, what I find with the Stampin' Up inks is they seem to blend, even though that one has got a pounce mark on here because I wasn't quite careful coming off the edge. But I find that they blend really well, and I don't have to work as hard as what I used to do with Close to My Heart inks. So I'm just going to bring this Garden Green back up a little bit more into that Granny Apple Green. And this one I'm going to have a fairly saturated amount of colour on here. And this is going to help give all these elements that I've got somewhere to live rather than onto a straight white tag. Now, after I've done that piece, I'm going to give them a little bit of a treatment with some early espresso. And for that, I'm bringing in a blending tool rather than a blending brush because I want to make sure that I really keep to the edges of this rather than going into the area of the tag too much. When I get to the corners, I'm flattening my tool out a little bit, and that will help me create a little bit of a vignette. I've got a little bit of foam here that's come off my sponge. So I can just blow that off rather than it smudging onto here. And I'm going to do that for all of these tags. And you don't have to watch the whole process for all of them. And then I'm going to do some other little treatments to it. And a good idea is to do this as a production line thing. So I would normally bring out my splatter box, load it all up, and do all of the tags in one go rather than just doing one. But I'm just going to show you one for now, and then I'll go off camera and do the rest of them. So the first lot of splattering I'm going to do is just some water. So I've just squeezed some water out of my water brush there. And then I'm just going to grab my scoring tool and tap off. And the ink does react quite well. You can see I'm getting a little bit of an effect. It's probably not showing up too much on the granny apple green. And then I'm going to take some paper towel and just dry that off. And normally I would do this straight onto my glass mat, but there's a bit of a reflection when I've got my lights on. So for this instance, I'm not doing it onto the glass mat. But if you do, you get ink left over on your glass mat, and you can bring that into your project. Now I have my Kuretake Starry Colours here. I'm using this white one here, and I've already sprayed a little bit of water in there and just let it sit for a little while so that I will get a better treatment with this. And then I'm just going to tap some splatters onto here. And this is just elevating these tags just a little bit more. This is the effect you can get by stepping it up the next level. And I need to set this aside to dry. So I've got some water splashes here, and I've also got this white or silvery colour splatter on this. If you don't have the Kuretake Starry Colours, you can use liquid pearls or the Stampin' Up Pearlized Enamel Effects. Squirt a little bit out onto your glass mat or onto an all-purpose mat. Add a little bit of water and then tap off. You can do the same thing with stickles, and you can also do it with the Dina Wakley gloss sprays if you've got that. So there's lots of options with adding splatter and a little bit of shine. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the tags that I've got set aside here, and then I'll be back with showing you how I'm putting everything together. So now I'm getting into the construction of these. I'll just show you this one that I finished off camera. These were the little gifts that I fussy cut out off those little cards that I showed you earlier. And I have inked the edges with the early espresso of the gifts just to give them some definition between each other, because the background of this was a green and they were sort of all merging together. And I have popped a couple up onto dimensionals. So basically when I'm doing the construction of these, I'm just laying them out. So I've got my Christmas tree on this one, and I'm thinking instead of having this little reindeer on a tag all by itself, I'm going to put it with the Christmas tree rather than having the gifts underneath the tree. I think that looks quite sweet, but you can see the green is sort of getting a little bit lost here. So I am going to go around the edges of this one with a little bit of the early espresso ink and my blending tool. It doesn't have to be totally perfect. I'm only going in certain areas and trying not to load it up too much with ink because I don't want to go into the actual design of these deers. And you can move them around a little bit so that you can get into those corners, or you can get a sponge dauber out, the ones that fit over your finger, and go into those little edges there. So I'm just going to see what this looks like inked up around the edges. And I think that looks quite sweet on there, but I do need to put some dimensionals on this. Now, what I love about Stampin' Up dimensionals, yes, they're hexagons. They do fit in to areas really well when there are angles and everything, and they come in two different sizes. So you have the larger ones and the mini ones, and there's absolutely no waste on these sheets. And then it's very easy to get your stamp and pick tool and take off the backing of these, and then that is going to nestle underneath this Christmas tree. And I am going to trim away the edges of this one just so that it's all flush with the tag. So I'm just following the edge of the tag around, and then I need to bring in, that one's not quite flush there, I'm going to trim that a little bit off. And then I'm going to bring in my early espresso again and go around those edges just to finish it. And I really love how that looks. It's just a little scene there. I know usually we put gifts under the tree, but I thought it would be rather sweet having the little reindeer. So I'm going to bring in this satin ribbon. I think it's a cherry cobbler colour, and it matches these tags really well. There's a lot of green happening here. So I do want a little bit of contrast between the green tags. It'll just help lift it a little bit, I think. Now I am going to get my crochet hook out and see if I can get this through, because the ribbon is a lot thicker than the little holes here, and I think it's going to work if I hold my crochet hook properly. So that worked quite well, and it saves me trying to feed it through and possibly fraying the ribbon. And then I'm just going to pull the 2 strands back through. I've got this a little bit tight, so it's a little bit hard to wiggle through. So I'm just going to use my fingers to pull that little part away. And I've got out my fabric scissors for these because I just find that they cut so much better with ribbon. And then I'm just going to angle this just a little bit. And there's the tag done. With the preparation of the base layer of the tag, I think it just lifts it so much. I'm just going to flip this one over so that you can compare them. I'll just clean up a little bit. I'm getting a little bit messy here. So I'm just going to flip this tag over and put one of the pieces that I've cut out from the Memories and More. And you can see how much that elevates this just by adding some blending here. So I'm going to go ahead and work out what else I'm going to do. I was thinking of putting these trees on here. So he's got something behind him. I think that looks pretty cool. This piece here has a white outline to it, so I'm not going to add ink to this one because I think this will work quite well. So I'm just going to go down to the edge of this tag, spin this over, and trim away the excess piece, and then I'm going to be able to use this piece on another tag. And I really could leave that just like that. It's quite pretty like it is, but I want to put this a little reindeer on here, and I'm going to pop him up on dimensionals and do the ribbon treatment. I'm going to bring all the tags in at the end that I've done. I just want to talk through how I'm putting things together. For this one here, I'm going to have him standing here. And then what I might do, rather than fussy cutting these pieces out, I'm going to trim this down to a strip. And I think that's going to look a bit cute. I could actually have him tucked underneath. I'm going to ink up the sides of this before I adhere it down. Put that down across here. Trim away the edges again. And whenever I've trimmed away the edges, I'm then going to come back in with my ink and ink that up so it's all nice and cohesive. And then he's going to sit onto this one there. And that's going to go on dimensionals as well. So you can see there's a little bit of a process. I'm just going through and doing all of these. So for this little reindeer here, I'm going to put that onto this tag. Now you can see I've got the dark green at the bottom and the lighter at the top. So this is garden green and this is granny apple green. So that one's going to go along the bottom. And remember, I had all of these strips left over from the back side of one of the Memories and More cards. So I'm going to put that one along. Once again, ink up the edges. And these are fairly quick and easy to do once you get into them. You can obviously add way more layers if you wanted to. So this one's going to go across here. Once again, trim the edges off. But I think giving them somewhere to sit, the little elements somewhere to sit, when you're not putting them right at the bottom of the tag, they need a landing spot. Otherwise, he sort of looks like he's floating in the air a little bit. So he's going to go on there. I've still got some gifts here. I might save these stickers for another Tag Tuesday because there's quite a lot on here. So I think what I'm going to do for this video is just concentrate on the paper elements and save the sticker sheets. So I've got these laid out ready to go. That one's adhered. I've got my ribbon. I'm just going to put that up here and spread these other tags out so I can bring in all the other elements. So that one's a finished one, as is that one. And I've got these 2 little reindeers to go on here. Or I could put one of them onto this bit, and I'm going to put a little bit more of this paper across there because I quite like how that looks. So nothing is really going to waste. I've got some of the holly paper left over from this tag that had Merry Christmas on it. It had some holly as the trim, and I've trimmed that away to make some more strips. And I've got this little gorgeous one here looking off to the side. So I've prepped a few more tags than I actually need. But this one I might put across the bottom here. Or maybe what I'll do is put this one across the bottom and have that little reindeer there and do a little grouping of gifts. So this one here, when I trimmed it out, I had cut away a reindeer from this side of the card. So I just need to hide that little chomp mark that I've got, and they can go on there. So I need to ink the edges of this, because it's getting lost. This is what I mean. This is getting a little bit lost on the green because it's a green base to this print. So just by adding a little bit of ink there, it gives it a little bit more definition. And I need to ink up this strip as well. So anywhere where I've got a strip, I'm going to do a little bit of inking with the early espresso along the edges of it, just to give it a bit more definition and separation from the base layer of the tag that I've got all my gorgeous splattering on. Here's going to go like that up on foam tape, and then I'm putting these together to hide that little chomped out piece from one of those reindeers. This one can go along the bottom here, and I'm going to leave that one just like that. I think it's going to look gorgeous just like it is. And I'm going to trim the bottom of this one, I think, with one of these sections. That just finishes that off nicely. So I need to ink this bit up. So when you're cutting into your Memories and More cards, don't just discard the leftover pieces when you've cut something out of it. You can always use those little pieces for something else, just to finish sprucing things up. And I'm not actually going to put any Christmas sentiments or anything on these. I'm just going to finish doing these sections, and then I'll have a collection of tags all ready to go. And I've got some other tags to bring in from some of the other little memory cards that I didn't want to cut into. So hang tight, I'll bring those in once I've finished putting all these together. I've got all the tags completed here, the ones that I have built up from the cards. I just put the original cards that I have used, some of them, off to the side here so you can see where the elements came from, just for a refresher. These two little reindeers I've cut out of this 6x4, and this is where I got all these other little gifts from on the back. This one here, the gifts are on the back of one of the little cards. I can't remember which one. I think it's one of these ones that I haven't put out. There we go. It's on the back of that one, but I have created a tag just from this. I'm going to bring those in. I said I'd bring in some extras. So you can see that I've cut up that little strip there from the back of that one. So that's here to decorate this. Also a strip here, and the larger gifts are from, it's a bit hard when I've got them down the wrong way. The larger ones are from the offcut pieces after cutting out these two little reindeers. I've put more of the strips here from the edges of the back of some of the cards, and I think they've come together really well. I like this as a set. This one here I just made up with what was left over from the cards. I haven't had much waste at all from the ones that I cut up. So this Merry Christmas is from this 3 reindeer here. So there are the 3 reindeers that I cut out and created tags just with one of those on each. And for some of them, I put some little presents on there as well. And then I cut the Merry Christmas out just to finish this bit off, and I've used the same ribbon throughout. I'm just going to push these up a little bit so I can bring in the other tags that I've made just using the actual card itself, the 3x4 card. So and this is what it started off looking like. All I've done is corner rounded it, inked up the edges. I've done the splatters with the Kuretake silver colour or the white colour, and on the back, because it had these gifts on it, I brought in this die set here, which is Nested Essentials dies, and I used the second largest one. It's got a nice corner round and a stitch detail on it, so I will be able to write the to and from. So that's from this Memories and More card, and I think it makes a cute little tag, so you don't have to do all of this fussy cutting like I have done if you want some quick and simple tags. This Winter Blessings one here, I've given it exactly the same sort of treatment with the corner rounding, inking up the edges. You can see what a difference that makes. And I've done the splatters as well. Now, what I usually do when I do splatters like this is I will just get some torn up little pieces of paper and put it over the area that I don't want the splatters to go on, so the reindeer's face doesn't get covered up with the splatters. So that sort of controls it, and it's easy to mask off. You just need to tear up some little bit of paper. And the Winter Blessings isn't quite right for the climate that I have here, so I took this Merry Christmas card and I just cut around the Christmas area and put that over the top of the Winter Blessings. And on the back of this one, it already has the lines there, so nothing else needs to happen with that. This one was very simple to do, just like this one. I haven't done the splatters because of all the reindeer here. I didn't want the splatters to go over the top of the faces, but I have corner rounded and put the ribbon in and punched a little hole, and that's the area to write the little message on for the recipient. And this one, I didn't even do the corner rounding on. I just did the splatters, inked up the edges, punched the hole, put the ribbon on, and I used one of those rounded ones. Now, I actually didn't use the second largest one. I've told you the wrong thing. I used, and they're all going over the top of each other, I used the second smallest one. And the reason why I did that is so that some of this design would show through on the back. I'm just going to write to and from on this with a little Merry Christmas that I'll handwrite in there. And so all I really needed was this size, not the larger one. I'm just going to bring that in. You can see that quite a bit of that area is going to get covered. And with the reindeers, it's just personal choice. You can use the second largest one. You've probably got more room to stamp a little sentiment on that. So that's all the tags from this first week of Tag Tuesday for me. I hope you've enjoyed what I've created. A little bit of ink blending, some splatters and some edge distressing with inks just elevates these tags up to the next level, I think. Thank you so much for watching along. I hope this gives you some ideas for some quick and easy tags to create for your Christmas gifting, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.